Here we are, yet another edition of Saco River Chronicles, and today we're here with Limington resident Howard Allen. Howard Allen is a candidate for the Sad6 school board. Howard, why are you running?
Oh, that's a good question. I've just recently retired, and I was looking around to see where I could volunteer to help my community. I have a history of volunteering in the community, so I was looking at a couple of things, and then I was talking to the registrar, the clerk down in the town office. He said, "You ought to run for a school board." I said, "Oh, okay." So that's what I did. I said, "Well, I'll do it." She says, "Nobody's running, and we need somebody to represent Limington." I said, "Well, it sounds like a need I could probably fulfill. I'm going to have time, and I want to keep my head in the game, and if I can help the community, and that's where I'm at." Okay, so I've lived in Limington since 1985. I built my first house there in '86 and built my second one in '94. And I mean literally built it. um, Professionally, I have a degree in teaching, secondary education, social sciences from what is now the University of Southern Maine. It used to be the University of Maine at Portland Gorham. I student taught in Scarborough High School and Greeley High School, and as a result of those experiences decided that I didn't want to teach high school. So I went on to do other things, and then about 10 years later I decided the things I was doing wasn't getting me anywhere, and so I went back to school. I was in a place where I could go back to school up in Bangor. I lived up there for several years and got a associate's degree in electronics at what was then called EMVTI, which is now EMTC or something like that, and then was immediately hired by Fairchild Semiconductor South Portland, and I spent 35 years working for them, 35 years working for them, and then the subsequent company that bought them. And then I went to work for Rochester Electronics down in Newburyport for 5 years, and just, like I said, just got through with that. So
Before the camera started rolling, you mentioned that you had an association with WMPG, the community radio station?
yeah, I started WMPG FM when I was in college at USM. We went on the air officially, the real station, in 1973, but prior to that I had organized a radio club, and we did some, shall we say, low power broadcasting out of our dorm room back in 72 through 73.
So if you have a background in technology, what are your thoughts about technology in the classroom?
I do not support it, and that goes back to my years of my education in teaching. Human beings, and this is from my social sciences, I mean, human beings desire human contact, particularly young kids. You isolate them, and it negatively affects their learning and their development, social development. So I do not support the excessive use of computers in classrooms, and this is one of the current concerns that people have mentioned to me as well, that the kid goes into the classroom, the teacher tells them, okay, download your assignment for today on your iPod, and then they sit there working on their iPod. I teach junior high and high school Sunday school, and I know for a fact that kids learn better when you have a direct interaction with them, and you learn what kind of a learning ability they have. Some kids learn by hearing, some kids learn by seeing things, some kids learn physically by doing, writing and moving things around. So if the teacher is sitting at a desk while the kids are working on their iPods, how does
No
how does she
real
know how to
teaching
do
is
it?
taking place.
Exactly. That's my opinion, and it's the same with remote learning. I don't like remote learning for the same reason. First of all, you got a kid sitting in a room. You don't know what's going on around the room, so there's all kind of potential distractions. And some kids have the ability to focus for a long while, and other kids are easily distracted. And also, depending on your age, developmentally, like if you're teaching an elementary kid, they've got like a 10-minute focus. That's all they've got. High school, you're going to do maybe 20 to 25 minutes. Adults, maybe 40 minutes, right? So you have to construct your classroom so it engages the children, the students, and keeps them engaged. If you don't do that, you're not teaching. You're not teaching effectively.
While it's important to keep students engaged, it's also important to retain teachers. How do we do so if a teacher can make more money in a different district, for instance?
Okay. That's not an easy question to answer. I'm certainly convinced that one of the problems with teachers, and I suspect it's not necessarily in this district. I suspect that it's far beyond this district. But teachers that I've talked to, one of the things they complain about is they have too many reports to write. They don't have enough time for the kids because they have to write all these reports. I mean, that's a legitimate concern. Now, I don't know what these reports are because, I haven't been in the situation to actually observe them. But if that's something we can reduce, that's going to help teachers, because the teachers want to do a good job. They want to do their job. And their job is the kids. And a really good teacher, that's what they're focused on. They don't want to be distracted by all this other stuff. The other stuff, retention, that's kind of based on your union and your union contract, how much you're paying, your benefits. All those things are tied up with your contract. I mean, you can negotiate a contract, and that's all you can do.
What are your thoughts about AI in the classroom? I mean, I'm listening to you, and I know that a lot of people these days are putting data into these search engines and asking ChatGPT to come up with a report. Do you think that it would be useful in that regard? Do you object to it in the classroom in any way, shape, or form?
Okay, so I've just recently started using AI myself professionally at work. It has its place. And I believe it has its place in a classroom that is teaching computer utilization, programming, and so forth, that kind of stuff. But do I want to see kids using AI to write reports? I don't think so. I think that detracts from their ability to put thoughts together and put them together in a logical manner and learn from that. Dropping it into an AI box and saying, here's the 3 points I want to make, build it up so it looks good, and then handing that in, no, that teaches them nothing. So
yeah, least of all critical analysis.
Critical thinking is one of the biggest problems I think we have in the classrooms today. Kids coming out of the schools do not have critical thinking. My daughter is an assistant manager at a big local grocery store, and she has to teach kids coming in. They're not prepared for work. They do not come out of high school prepared for work.
Where are they lagging the most? Is it reading comprehension? Is it math? Is it both?
Well, if you look at the test scores for the district, the test scores for math, English, and science are far below what they used to be pre-COVID. Now, what does that say? Do we have a gap in where kids had to learn remotely and it wasn't effective teaching, and now those kids are coming up through the grades and they're at a loss, if you will, and then they graduate and go into college and they have to get remedial training there. I don't know if that's what's going on, but one of the things she mentioned is they don't have discipline. They don't know how to follow directions. And I mean, part of the training is you sit down and read the manual. So do they have reading and comprehension problems? That's probably part of it. I don't have the data to say it is, but judging by the test scores, I don't think we're teaching effectively, and I think we've got to come back and do our own internal assessments and then offer remedial as needed if possible. I mean, you are limited in terms of your total classroom time, but I don't know.
COVID was a disaster for learning.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely, and you see it all the time. The kids that were homeschooled come out far better than the kids that went through the public schools. I hope we never get into a situation like that again.
Right now, we're in the midst of a budget season. The budget is $72 million. For many people that are struggling to put food on the table, pay for rent, mortgages, car payments, that might be considered a bridge too far. Is there any way, shape, or form that the budget could be trimmed in the future?
Well, as we already know, a lot of the budget is based on contracts. So in fact, the largest portion of the budget is based on contracts. When somebody comes up to you and says, hey, I'm in the union and my people want 6% or 7% next year, that's clearly a bridge too far for most people. I get 2% this year. Cost of living, I know what it is. I know what's going on in the real world here. I have to pay for the gas too. But it seems that there probably is room in the budget, but from my perspective, it's as much a question of priority as anything else. We've seen this bond come up from the school board to, on one hand, repair a lot of infrastructure things that have gone by the road, so to speak, and then we have a sports component. As a school board member, my question is, how good a job are we doing with the budget? Communications to people, and we've got these schools that are deteriorating. You walk into one of these schools and you can see it. We got schools where the furnaces are 50 years old. Boilers don't last 50 years. They should be replaced every 30, 35 years. Even commercial systems. We've got Georgie Jack with three roof-mounted ventilator units that stopped working, and they didn't all stop at once. So over the years, they've stopped working, and because of that, the building gradually, because of the people in it, builds up carbon dioxide over the school day. It gets to the level where it starts to impact kids' ability to learn. How did we get into a situation where we weren't spending the money to maintain these systems? I think if you tell people, look, this is the budget, we're going to do this, this, and this, based on our some capital expense planning. We're going to replace the boiler in this building. We're going to replace the controller system in this building. We're going to upgrade some water fountains, and explain what you're doing. I believe the average person will accept what you're telling them and support your budget, but it's got to be done the right way. And I'm not criticizing the school board, but it just seems like when I attended that budget meeting, people were upset. They saw on one hand there was a need for this, and on the other hand there was a need for this. Well, in my view, the maintenance part of it needs to be done as a regular part of your business. Every year the budget needs to address a particular unit, and the use of the capital plan. Most towns have a 10-year capital plan. You put money into it every year, and then you identify things that need to be addressed, and you plan for it. To me, it's just like logical. It's the way you should do things.
I had the superintendent into the studio a while ago, and he did mention in passing school consolidation. Is that part of the answer to this problem?
I hate to say this because it's probably not the right answer, but I really don't like the idea of school consolidation. I really like the idea of local, and particularly the elementary schools. Okay, I like the idea of local elementary schools. The junior high and the high school, that's a whole different world. But I like the idea of communities having their own elementary schools, because the parents live in that community. The elementary school can reach out to the community. You don't have to drive, 35 minutes to a centralized location to attend a PT, whatever. Yeah. So yeah, it probably would save money, but I don't support it.
I see. There is increasingly an argument that college just isn't worth it. What are your thoughts on that? Do you favor a vocational trade trajectory for students, or college, or both?
Okay. This is something I feel strongly about, and I hate to say it, but 50 years ago when I went to high school, it was 3 tracks. You had the general education track, you had the vocational track, and you had the college track. And it was the purpose of the guidance counselors to look at your grades, sit down with you, and talk about what you wanted to do or what you felt you wanted to do, okay? And I remember that conversation with my guidance counselor. He told me I could never be an engineer. Okay, fine. So I decided to be a teacher. And here I'm an engineer. But I've taught a lot. Through my career, I've taught younger engineers, and like I said, I teach Sunday school. So that's what I believe works. I really strongly believe not everybody is going to go to college, nor should they. I made more money with my 2-year associate's degree in electronics than I would ever have made teaching. I strongly support vocational education. We need more plumbers. We need more electricians. You name it. Pipe fitters, BIW, right? Welders. Those are good trades. They're good paying trades. People, and not, like I said previously, some people learn by doing, some people learn by seeing. Those are the ideal places for people to get into the trades. So I strongly believe in trades. And the GED, the general education track, how can I put this? The idea that everybody has the same educational capabilities, capable to understand things, took me 3 times to pass calculus for my engineering degree, right? I struggled with algebra, but my SAT scores were in the top 10% for all categories. So I'm a smart guy. I'm just not a very good scholar, okay? There are people like that you meet every day in your life. And so you get a kid who's bright in some aspects, right? Like maybe they're an excellent piano player or an artist or something like that. Well, are you going to put them through Algebra 2, trigonometry, geometry? Is that really necessary for them to fulfill their capabilities and what they want to do in life? No.
Yeah, too often we're putting round pegs into square holes.
Absolutely.
And vice versa.
Yeah.
Back when I went to see my guidance counselor, I had no idea in high school what I wanted to be. I think a lot of students are the same way. They don't find their way until later on in life.
Yep.
And I would just feed them a line. I'd say, yeah, I want to go into real estate, even though I couldn't pass general math.
Oops.
Where would you like to see the district in 5 years?
Where would I like? Okay, so I would like to see kids, the students in the school system, having far less stress, And by the way, I think getting the cell phones out of the schools is probably the number one.
I wanted to
the
touch on
number
that.
one, the number
I
one best
have a
thing you
friend
can
who's
do.
a teacher at Thornton Academy, and she has the students put their phones on the desk when they come in. Do you
Yep.
support a ban on phones in the classroom?
Absolutely, absolutely. I don't want to see a school. I don't want to see them in the school.
The counter argument is that in this day of school shooters, that the kids kind of need them, and I think that's a tragic way to look at
Yep.
it, a horrible way to look at it, but
Yep.
that's the world we live in.
Yep. Teachers can have them, right?
Hmm.
That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. That's perfectly acceptable.
Yeah,
So yeah,
they are a distraction in the classroom.
they are a distraction in the classroom. Get rid of that. I definitely want to see the student academic scores back to where they were 6 years ago. Absolutely. We had 80 percentile for English. For math and science, we're in the 60, 65 percentile. Now we're down in the 60% for English and 25, 30% for math and science. That's got to turn around. I'm an engineer. I strongly support STEM. I want to see STEM be emphasized strongly because it gives students a career path. I think the robotics program that is in the high school now, the Lego robotics program that is in the junior high school, those are great examples of bringing kids and exposing them to STEM in a fun way. And I volunteer for I annually volunteer for the Legos competition, the state Legos competition, and it's just great. You have these teams come in, and these kids have the Lego robots. They learn programming, they learn teamwork, a lot of teamwork. They are able to creatively express themselves in presentations. I'm a judge, so I sit and watch some of these presentations. Some of these presentations would absolutely blow you away. You're thinking, wait a minute, these are 5th through 8th grade kids. They could bring this presentation to my engineering team, and we'd be impressed. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm thinking.
Since you mentioned teamwork, tell us an example of how you work collaboratively with people, because you're going to be on a school board with representatives that have different views than you.
Yeah. So I was chairman of the Momadayo Recreational Area Oversight Committee.
That's right.
Started in 2007. I was challenged by one of the select board members to put a team together to determine what we were going to do with this area. Now this is the 35-acre lakeside. We have a 2,000-foot beach. This area had been basically abandoned by the town, and it was being used for
It was
parties.
the first all-girls school in Maine, from what I understand.
That was the first all-girls. Yeah, it was the
camp.
site of a camp,
Yeah.
a girls' camp. Yes, so it was a beautiful area, and it had been abandoned. The state turned it over with a provision that the town run it as a park. So I was challenged to put this team together. I called a meeting. We had like 15 or 16 people show up at the meeting because there was a lot of interest in it, and we put together a charter. We came up. We basically tried to establish a vision for what we wanted, and then people just came in and we came up with ideas. There were camp owners that actually were on the committee. They had concerns that we had to address with potential fires and control. In fact, they came up with some really good ideas we put in place. And a lot of the townspeople came in with ideas of what they wanted to see down there. And so over the I think I was with it with 12 years. I was chairman for 10, and for 12 years, we built a place from an abandoned place, took three truckloads of junk out of there, and then we started building. And we used that vision to guide us to what it is today. In 2010, we put up a lodge building because I wanted to do a summer day camp for the town, and we had volunteers from the carpentry, electrical people, all in the town of Limington, came together, volunteered to put the building up. We bought the materials, but they came in and put the building up, and it was amazing. We had the cement pad was laid down by a couple of brothers in Limington, the Braley brothers, and it was a wonderful experience. And was it easy? No. I had to deal with the town select board, which was continually changing, and every time the select board membership changes, the nature of the committee the nature of the select board changes, just like the school board. It's like the same thing. It's any kind of committee or board is going to change. We had situations where people would come in and they would complain, and I'd have to resolve that complaint. But my sense is everybody deserves a hearing. Everybody has a perspective. And you don't just shut that perspective off because you disagree with it. You have to listen. It's part of your responsibility. It was part of my responsibility as committee chair to make sure that everybody on that committee spoke and was heard. Because there's a difference between letting them speak and actually hearing what they're saying. Okay? So that's, to me, very important. If you're going to be on any kind of committee, you have to have that mental attitude where listen to what people are saying. They're there. They made the point of coming and talking to you. Listen to what they're saying. Okay.
By virtue of your life experience, professional experience, I think you'd make an ideal candidate for the school board, and I wish you well. And if you had anything else you'd like to share with the audience, the camera's on, the camera's rolling.
I think we've covered a lot more than I thought we would, but thank you for the opportunity. I do wish that people would consider my candidacy. As I said, I will bring an open mind. I'm strongly committed to communicating with folks in not just my town, as it turns out, but I mean anybody that has a question. I promise to try to do my best to get it resolved or answered, and I promise to be open to any arguments or concerns, even if I don't agree with them. I think you deserve to be heard, and so that's my whole attitude. And anyway, I look forward to
the vote is on June 9th.
June 9th, yeah. But look forward to the June 9th, the opportunity to serve my community and the schools and the kids in the schools. So.
But you would, in a way, like to return to the 3 R's.
Yes. I'm very much convinced that maybe people think it's like turning the clock back, but it worked. It really did. And I think a lot of people, like my daughter in retail, the kids don't have the fundamentals that they need to get by in life. Parents are telling me that the school environment is not conducive to what the kids are going to see when they hit reality. That reality needs to be reflected in the school environment. So I intend to look more into that if I get elected.
Okay, fair enough. Hey, thank you for coming in today.
All right.
I have been familiar with you for years. As someone who visits and appreciates Momodeo, I want to thank you for the work you did there.
Thank you.
I'm probably, as a non-resident, not supposed to be going there. Is that right?
No, it's open to everybody.
Oh, it is. Okay.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
That was our vision from the very beginning. We wanted that park available to anybody who came. We have people coming from Westbrook, from Portland, from all over the place. And,
Great.
Great.
We
want them there.
Great to know. I don't want to be trespassing.
No.
Thanks a lot.